Hey guys, what is going on? This is Hey guys, what is going on? This is Panzer Dragon, and today we're gonna be doing a little video on patch 7.4, which is gonna be coming out this Wednesday, and we're gonna be going over some of the changes that are happening in this patch. Some things include mastery changes. First Blood Tower Gold is toning down just a little bit, and CHO'GATH's R is basically getting a rework. Kind of. I'll talk about it later. And some items are being changed, so without ado, let's get started. Alright, let's talk about some mastery changes, and first up is gonna be, okay, let's just go through it really quickly. Bounty Hunter has been decreased by 0.5, so instead of 7.5%, you can only get 5% increased damage. Double-edged sword has been decreased and is now 3% and 1.5%, and battle trance is now 3% instead of 5%, but it takes only 3 seconds to get up, so I mean, if you're in combat with someone for only 3 seconds, doesn't matter too much, but of course, again, just like the others, it is nerfed. I think this is just to tone down the damage meta we have, you know, Talon and all of that stuff, at least in the jungle, Graves, lethality, etc. And there's going to be more damage nerfs coming in, so I mean, a buff to tanks and kind of a buff to AD carries so they won't explode. I don't know, you probably won't feel that there was a change at all, because these are the things that you can barely feel since it's only such a small number. Next up, Warlord is getting a nerf, so you know, AD carries won't lifesteal in those clutch situations as much. I'm looking at Draven mostly, but of course, you know, every AD carry is affected. But more interestingly enough is Fervor of Battle has been buffed. As you can see, the duration has been increased by 8. So whoever's using this, you have a bigger window to, you know, have more AD and just shit on your enemy. For instance, this might provide someone like Fiora with more zoning, since she'll have like 8 stacks a little bit longer and of course can hold it. All she has to do is press Q and she holds those stacks, and as well as AD carries who want to auto attack more often. Next up is going to be MERCILESS, and it's getting a nerf. As you can see, it's being lowered by 2%, and this is the one in the Thunderlord's mastery tree. So again, I think this is mainly a nerf to assassins, I'm guessing. Toning their damage just a little bit, and just carries in general, of course. There's a little bit more damage nerfs, but I just want to say, like, I think you're going to see more sustained fights, like maybe like 1 or 2 more seconds, but still, it's kind of an interesting way that this game is going to be going in. And next up is going to be Precision, and I didn't actually know it gave 8.5 lethality. I always thought it was like a little bit lower, but holy shit, that's a lot at like level 1. No wonder lethality was doing so much damage more than I expected it to do. M-Pin is also lowered, which sucks, but I mean, yeah, just less damage in general. Interesting. Fearless is getting nerfed. As you can see, per level is going down by 0.5. And finally, Turret First Blood Gold has been lowered by 100 gold. It seems like the reason behind this was to prevent snowballing off the first turret gold. I mean, getting First Blood Tower was super good. It was probably the most prioritized objective if you can get it. It still is, but it's just not going to snowball as hard. It's still going to snowball though, but it's just like getting an extra kill for your team. Alrighty, finally, let's just go on to the champions that are actually getting changed. And as you can see, first one we got is Bard, and he is getting a passive buff, and they're emphasizing his movement speed so that he can be more of a roaming support. Now the funny thing is, he's actually the lowest win rate support right now. I remember when he used to be like 48, now he's like 45. He's just apparently god awful. Like, he didn't get any nerfs, he just was god awful all of a sudden, and you know, that has to do something with indirect changes. This buff does nothing, but I thought it was so interesting that he was the shittiest support right now. And I'm just thinking to myself, what actually happened? I don't, like, it was definitely a meta shift in some way, but yeah, I mean, I guess redemption? I don't know. Either way, I guess he needs more buffs than this, because this is not the best buff. Next up is going to be CHO'GATH, and oh boy, his R is getting a buff, and basically getting a rework, because you see his ultimate and now goes up to 10 stacks, and he doesn't lose stacks anymore. There's now a 10% bonus hit point ratio added on. The AP ratio has been lowered to 50%. Chomping minions and monsters no longer refunds 50% of the cooldown, and CHO'GATH no longer gets 2 stacks from killing champions, which I never knew about, but now you can see the bonus stacks have been lowered by 20 per stack, then 30, and then 40. But here's the thing, you can only get 5 stacks off minions and monsters. The rest you have to kill champions, so eat 5 champions and you'll get bonus hit point. Also, Z now increases with his size, but you don't really max this out. Now if they added a bonus hit point ratio on a Z, then no, you probably still wouldn't max it out. So yeah, basically no more losing stacks. That's great. I mean, it feels like shit when you lose those stacks and you gotta regain them again. But I still think this champion is just really boring to play, clunky, and well, after his Q and W, he's somewhat useless. He does have a finisher, but these stack changes come down to the mid game and late game. This champion right now, if you look on Champion GG, has a 45% win rate. So these changes, it'll probably bring him up to like 48%, but probably not going to be a meta champion at all. So yeah, it's really interesting how they reworked his R, but he's probably still just going to be utterly useless after his Q and W. Next up is going to be CORKI, and as you can see, his R, whoa, those damage nerfs, oh my god. AP scaling lowered, AD scaling lowered. Okay, well, the AP scaling doesn't matter too much because he doesn't really build AP, but the AD, that kind of matters. Bye-bye base damage. But the big one has been increased, but when I tested it, I'm like, this does significantly less damage. Like, the big one feels like a little one, and the little ones feel like, I don't know, the tickling ones. I think after this nerf, I don't know, he still has his Q, his laning phase is the same, but like his R just feels significantly weaker from what I can tell from the PB server. The big one honestly feels like it's doing somewhere in between the little one and the big one's ult damage, but I don't think you'll see CORKI in mid lane anymore after this. I honestly don't, maybe for like some random ass pick, but probably not. Next up is going to be Jhin, and finally they are Next up is going to be Jhin, and as you can see, they're finally lowering his ultimate slow by 0.25 seconds, so now you can actually dodge it instead of just getting clapped by the next few shots. So I mean, I think this change is good for players versing against him, because honestly, he couldn't get away, let's be honest here. And so now his R takes a little bit more skill to use, thank god. Because even you know, someone who plays Jhin for like 2 or 3 games, you can probably land those shots easy peasy lemon squeezy. Next up is going to be MEOWKAI, and as you can see, the mana cost on his Q has been increased at later levels because right now he's just not even building mana, but he's building full tank and just shitting on people, especially in competitive. So I mean, I think that's a little problem. But now a big problem is his E no longer does damage when you throw it. It only does damage when you basically let it run and explode on someone. This shit's on his laning phase because sometimes he'll be zoned and he can't CS. Actually, wait, maybe it's not that big of a deal. I mean, unless you're going AP MEOWKAI, then yeah, it kind of sucks. You'll probably still see him in competitive play because he's just a super tank. Maybe not so much in solo queue though. Next up is going to be RYZE, and as you can see, they're lowering his E's bonus damage for his Q by 20% at rank 5. So that means no more 1000 damage Qs when you have a bunch of AP, at least that's what I'm thinking. But you know, this champion in competitive play with his R, ooh, I mean, he just has so much uses because of his R. They're like sick ass rotations, and now it's just a small damage nerf, at least like at level 13. Not really, his laning phase has been nerfed, so you'll probably still see him. It's just he's gonna have a weaker late game. I want to say you'll probably still see him in competitive, but like for solo queue, I don't know. You'll probably still see him. Next up is gonna be Black CLEAVER. And in my opinion, you know, it's more suited for tanks now, but at the same time, it's like a nerf if you just look at the gold difference of what the stats were worth. So basically you're down about 36 gold less with the changes, so it honestly doesn't matter too much. But I mean, I feel like most people buy this for, you know, the passive. Obviously assassins will be doing less damage with it, but you know, someone like Darius, he's gonna be like, ooh, and Alawi, except Alawi isn't really meta. I've seen Darius, but since right now I feel like it's an assassin meta, in general it'd be a nerf for a bunch of champions, like a very small nerf. You probably won't notice it, but whatever. Next up, we're going to be talking about Knight's Vow, and as you can see, the armor is being transferred over by 20 from the passive to the actual armor stats. So I mean, you don't have to be near your butt buddy all the time, so it's kind of a good item if you're on your own. Like for me, when I play Hecarim, I'm like not really inclined to buy it if I need some armor because I need to be beside my AD carry or whoever. So maybe now I'll probably start buying it instead of like Randuin's or Deadman's Plate. Since you know me, Hecarim, I like to do a lot of things solo and push waves or like dual enemies 1v1, but now I have some incentive to actually like, ooh, maybe I'll try and play for my team. But I can probably like, you know, solo that Zed in the bot lane since I have 40 armor instead of 20. So yeah, just a little bit more incentive to buy it. Also, I always want to try this, but I want to try this with Hecarim and get Spear Visage and this item and see what the healing will be or how tanky I will be when I get these two items together. Also along with my W. Next up is going to be Last Whisper, and they're lowering the AD by 15, but they're increasing the bonus armor penetration by 15%, which is the same as Lord Dominic's Regards and Mortal Reminder. And so basically, this is the item you should get to bust down those tanks. Like, you don't even have to buy the next item, but you probably should. But if you need that immediate bonus armor penetration, just spend 900 gold and you can bust down tanks. And finally, YOUMUU'S Ghostblade is being lowered by 5 lethality. You know, they should probably nerf Edge of Night, but yeah, I don't know about this item anymore. I didn't like it when they removed the attack speed. Now, what's the point of getting this instead of like Edge of Night, you know? Do you really need that movement speed? I don't know. If they lower the price on it, then maybe, but I mean, Duskblade or Edge of Night is looking really good instead of getting this, you know? But that's just my opinion, and that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you didn't, make sure to subscribe. Anyways, I am Panzer Dragon, and I'll see you guys next time.